So, I was a 16-year-old girl growing up in a sheltered household. I was a nerd, and I still am. I did a lot of online roleplay because I found it was a great outlet for my writing, and I really enjoyed the people. On one forum, I met a guy named John. John and I had a lot of fun roleplaying, and eventually our characters ended up together, which brought on real feelings between us. He told me he was 17 and going to high school in Washington, while I lived in California. We would talk for hours online, messaging one another, sending pictures back and forth. Well, things took a step up when he asked me to go on video chat with him one day to prove that I was a girl. This was brought on because we found out that one of the more sexual roleplayers who cybered a lot online, which is basically having sexual roleplay, turned out not to be a female after all, but actually a dude. Seeing as I trusted John, I agreed and got on camera. He didn't have a cam, claiming that he used the family computer and couldn't convince his parents the need for one. My older brother was in the military at the time, so we had one to video chat with him. Eventually, being on cam with him became a regular thing. Just me sitting there on cam and him typing back. That's when he started to ask me to do more sexual things. It started out simple, like, give me your best sexy look, or bite your lower lip. I thought it was harmless flirting, and complied like an idiot. He would tell me he was falling for me, and I was beautiful, and me, being a teen girl with issues with my image, fell for every single line. We became boyfriend and girlfriend, as much as you can be with someone who you've never actually met. I was so desperate to make him happy and keep him around, because I'd had 2 boyfriends in the past, and both of them ended with heartache on both sides of the coin, so I was lonely. So, when he started to ask me to do more sexual things on camera, and I hesitated, he would always use the line, "I thought you loved me," and I'd cave. For a long time, I felt ashamed of myself and dirty. Now I just feel stupid. He would send me pictures of his penis via well-placed digital camera angles that never actually showed his face, that he would upload and email to me. It made me uncomfortable, but I wasn't going to make him angry and tell him to stop, because I thought I needed him. Then, things got worse. We texted back and forth, but when I wouldn't text him back right away, he would start bombarding me with messages of why I hated him and why I wouldn't answer him, and claims of me cheating on him. It was overstressing me so much that I finally caved and told one of my female friends about it, and she told me that his behavior was abusive and I should tell him to knock it off or break up with him. So, I did. The next time he went off on me, I told him, "I'm not okay with you emotionally manipulating me, so either stop it or we're done." He lost his shit, started cussing up a storm, calling me names, saying I was a horrible person. So, I told him we were over. I cried for about 2 days, which is forever in teen girl time. It hurt, but my friend consoled me and told me it was for the best, and that I'd move on to something more healthy. He started to message me every time I got online. His messages ranged from calling me names to begging me to take him back because he loved me. I finally blocked him and left the forum game where I had first met him. He would make a new Yahoo account and message me again with the same shit. Then he started telling me he was now suicidal because of me, and that I should feel sorry that he was going to kill himself. Because I'm a nice person, I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. We talked for hours via text, and I took him back if he promised not to hurt himself. He said he wouldn't hurt himself if he could see me again online, so I got on cam with him. Then he told me to do more sexual things for him, and I tried to say no, but he said if I cared about him I would, or he was going to slit his wrists. My friend's words popped back into my head of, "You're a good girl and you deserve someone who isn't going to manipulate you." I told him no, to fuck off, and to not message me anymore. I blocked him, made a new email, and thought it was done. Fast forward about 2 weeks. I had not heard anything from him in these past 2 weeks. No texts or emails or anything. I thought I was in the clear and done with him. One day, after school, I was waiting by the bus stop in front of the school to head home. I wasn't alone, but in a crowd of classmates and friends as we waited. Suddenly, a brown sedan pulled up, and a man in his mid-20s stepped out of the car and started saying my name. I looked around because A, I was in a crowd of people, and B, my first name is very common, so I thought maybe he was talking to someone else. That's when he walked straight up to me and grabbed me, very roughly by the shoulders, and started pulling me towards his car. I screamed out for him to let me go, but his fingers were like iron. Luckily, the other students took action, and some of the guys rushed the dude and tackled him to the ground, while some others went to get our school police officer. He kept screaming my name and telling them to let him go and that he was my boyfriend. I was stunned, to say the least. The cops came and put him in cuffs. Apparently, this man was John. He lied to me about his age and where he was from. He had tracked me down to what school I went to, which he discovered from a school sweater I had worn one day on webcam. The cops searched his car and found rope, duct tape, sleeping pills, some woman's clothing, and a big fucking knife. After the investigation, my parents told me what his plan was from his testimony. He was going to, quote unquote, take me away, and we were going to get married and be happy. It still makes me shiver to this day. I've kicked myself for years over how stupid I was to give this person I knew nothing about information about me, as well as manipulating me into doing what I did on webcam. He had a record, from what my mother told me, that included the rape of a girl when he was 19 and she was 14. The last time I saw him was when the cops took him away, and he just kept staring at me from the back of the police car, crying. I know it's cliche, the typical creeper on a dating website thing, but this is my story, and it still shakes me to this day. I didn't have much dating experience at the time. This was back in 2008, and I was going to be a junior in college. I lived in a small town outside of Tacoma, Washington, and attended a university nearby. I was home for the summer, and I wasn't taking summer classes that year. I was 20 years old at the time. I had an account on several dating sites, but I wasn't looking for anything serious. One day, in early July, I received a message from someone called Anna Richardson about maybe meeting up, as she lived in Tacoma and attended Everest College. She was a year younger, going into her sophomore year. I checked out her profile, and she had several pictures in addition to her icon. She was interested in art and literature, was majoring in mathematics, listened to EDM and alt-rock, and played soccer. The woman in the photos was very attractive. She seemed pretty legit, and we seemed to have some things in common, so I agreed. We messaged on the site first. She was thinking we could have dinner at a local Italian restaurant and go for a walk afterwards. I thought that sounded fine, and suggested we meet at the restaurant on Saturday at 7 or so. She said she was thinking that I could pick her up from her apartment, as she didn't have a car to use at the time because she had recently gotten into a crash. This was kind of strange to me, and I wondered why she couldn't ask someone for a ride. But I stupidly agreed to pick her up, and she gave me her address. I wanted to be seen as a gentleman by my date. All of this proved to be my biggest mistake. We then exchanged phone numbers, and we spoke on the phone only once, and it was brief, just discussing the details of the date again. I'd pick her up at her place at around 6:30, and we'd go to the restaurant at 7. It was a female's voice on the phone, and it didn't sound old or anything, so I wasn't really worried about anything. So, on Saturday, I got directions to her place and set off. She lived in a pretty nice section of town, in a townhome. With 3 stories, that was a condo type thing, I guess. She informed me that her landlord owned the building, and lived on the first floor, and rented out the top 2 floors. Anna lived on the 3rd floor. There was a set of stairs on the side of the townhome, where there was a door to each floor, but the first floor also had a front door. It was kind of a weird setup. I went up the side stairs to the 3rd floor and knocked on the door. It felt like I waited there forever, about 5 minutes, before someone answered. A rather large, middle-aged man with the most bizarre look on his face opened the door. I don't even know how to describe it. Other than that, there wasn't anything weird about his appearance or outfit. Now, my warning bells are going off, but I guess I had the idiotic thought that maybe he was her dad. So I dumbly said, is Anna here? But decided it was time to get out of there, and I didn't wait for a response, and tried to turn around. He literally grabbed my arm and rasped, "I'm Anna." I was smaller, shorter, and much younger than him, so it would have been quite hard for me to fend him off. I kept trying to wrench away unsuccessfully, and began screaming for help as he repeatedly tried to pull me through the door, and then finally just let me go. I didn't hesitate to take this opportunity to get the heck out of there, and thankfully, he didn't try and follow me. I got into my car and went home. I was frustrated that no one had heard and tried to help me, and immensely freaked out, naturally. I didn't know if I should go to the police and tell them, or even what they'd do if I did. That evening, I told my roommate the whole story when I got home. He knew I was going on a date, but didn't know the circumstances and obviously didn't know about the guy. He convinced me to report it to the police, and to take pictures of Anna and I's messages if I still had them, just in case. I went down to our local police station the next day, and informed them of the whole thing, and provided them with the pictures. I kind of got the vibe that they weren't taking me seriously, but they said that they would go down to the guy's house to question him about it. They had me file a report. Now, this is the really crazy part. The police telephoned me the following morning. I wanted to hear from them sooner, but whatever, I know they're busy. They told me to come by, because they had some information about the guy. So, I did. And they told me that the guy had just seemingly vanished. They spoke to the landlord, and she said he must have left in the middle of the night because his car was gone that morning. I guess the landlord had a key and opened the door to his apartment, even though they didn't have a search warrant. But all his stuff was apparently there. The landlord told them that she didn't know much about the guy, but that he seemed normal enough but didn't leave his apartment much. She provided them with his name. They did a background check. Nothing. The police advised me to delete my account on the website, and suggested that I change my phone number just in case, so I did. They told me at that point there wasn't much else they could do. I never got any follow-ups or updates on my report, and I never encountered that guy again. Of course, I still have many questions. Who did I speak to on the phone? It wasn't a pre-recorded call, because she addressed me by name and knew what I was talking about. Who was the girl in the pictures? I don't know where he got them from, and I didn't know about reverse image search at the time. And finally, what were his plans? It was so bizarre.